The annual Thompson family dinner was in full swing when my sister Charlotte dropped her bombshell. "We're buying the Madison estate," she announced, beaming at our assembled family. Isn't it exciting? I nearly choked on my wine. The Madison estate was a local landmark, a sprawling Victorian mansion set on 20 acres of prime real estate. Last I'd heard, it was listed for well over $5 million. "That's wonderful, darling," our mother gushed, while our father nodded approvingly, "though it will need quite a bit of renovation to meet your standards." Charlotte's husband Greg puffed up with pride. "We've already got the architects drawing up plans. Indoor pool, home theater, the works. It's going to be perfect for entertaining." I stayed quiet, pushing food around my plate as everyone congratulated them. At 35, I was the oldest of the Thompson children, but often felt like an outsider at these gatherings. While my siblings had followed our parents into law or medicine, I'd chosen to become a software engineer. A very successful one, though my family seemed to view my career as some sort of hobby. "Of course," Charlotte continued, her eyes finding mine across the table, "we'll need some help with the down payment. The renovations alone will cost a small fortune." And there it was. I'd been waiting for the real reason behind this elaborate announcement at a family dinner. "Rebecca," my mother turned to me with that familiar expectant look. "You've done so well with your little computer business. Surely you can help your sister achieve her dreams." My little computer business had made me a millionaire by 30. For the past 5 years, I'd been the family's unofficial bank, helping with down payments, college tuition, business ventures, and endless temporary loans that never seemed to get repaid. "How much?" I asked, though I already knew it would be substantial. $2 million, Charlotte said smoothly, "plus maybe another million for the renovations. But it's an investment, really. Property like this only appreciates." The table fell silent, all eyes on me. I could feel the weight of their expectations, their assumption that of course I would agree. After all, I always had before. "I'll think about it," I said quietly. "Think about it?" Charlotte's perfectly plucked eyebrows shot up. "Becca, we need to move quickly. There are other buyers interested. Then maybe you should look at something more within your budget." The words slipped out before I could stop them. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. My mother's face tightened in that way that always preceded a guilt trip. "Rebecca," she began, "after everything we've done for you." "Everything you've done for me?" I cut her off, surprising myself. What exactly would that be? "We supported your unconventional career choice," my father interjected, "when you decided not to go to law school." "You mean when I turned down the law school you'd chosen for me and built my own successful company instead? The company that's been funding this family's lifestyle for the past 5 years?" Charlotte's husband Greg leaned forward. "Now see here, those were loans." "Really?" I pulled out my phone, opened a spreadsheet I'd been maintaining. "Should we go through them? The 100,000 for your failed restaurant venture? The $250,000 for Jeremy's gambling debts?" I nodded toward our youngest brother, who suddenly seemed very interested in his plate. "The 50,000 for Mom's spa retreat business that never opened." "That's different," Charlotte protested. "This is about family, about building a legacy." I looked around the table at my family, all successful professionals on paper, all living well beyond their means with my money as a safety net, all while treating me as somehow lesser because I'd chosen a different path. "You want to talk about legacy," I said softly. "Let's talk about how none of those loans were ever repaid. About how every time I ask about repayment, I'm told that family doesn't keep score. About how I'm the family disappointment except when someone needs money." "You're being dramatic," my mother sighed. "This is what family does. We help each other." "No, this is what I do. I help everyone else while being treated like an ATM with hurt feelings." I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. The noise seemed to echo in the sudden silence. "Rebecca, sit down," my father commanded, using his courtroom voice. "We're not finished discussing this." "Actually, we are." I grabbed my purse, started toward the door. "I have an early meeting tomorrow." "This is exactly why you're still single," Charlotte called after me. So dramatic, so self-centered. No wonder. I slammed the door on the rest of her sentence. Driving home to my downtown apartment, I thought about the other reason I'd been reluctant to attend tonight's dinner. The certified letter I'd received yesterday sat unopened on my kitchen counter, though I knew what it contained. I'd spent the past 6 months working with my lawyers and financial advisors, carefully documenting every loan my family had taken. The total was staggering. Over $4 million in the past 5 years alone. Money that had funded their lifestyle while they simultaneously looked down on my career choices. The letter contained official notice that I was calling in all the loans. Every penny, with interest, due within 30 days. My lawyers had assured me the documents were ironclad. Each loan had been properly recorded, with terms and repayment schedules that my family had simply ignored. But that wasn't all. There was another document, one that would make Charlotte's dream home impossible even if she somehow found another source of funding. I'd bought the Madison estate last week. The realtor's call had come right after Charlotte's text about the important family announcement at dinner. The price had been steep, but sometimes karma needed a little help. My phone started buzzing as I parked in my building's garage. First Charlotte, then my mother, finally my father. I ignored them all, taking the elevator to my penthouse apartment. Oscar, my Maine Coon cat, greeted me with his usual regal indifference. I scratched behind his ears, kicked off my heels, and opened the letter. Everything was in order. Tomorrow morning, my family would each receive their own certified letters, detailing exactly how much they owed and the consequences of non-payment. They would also learn about the Madison estate's new owner. But that wasn't even the best part. I opened my laptop, pulled up the plans I'd been working on with a different set of architects. The Madison estate wouldn't be becoming another wealthy family's showcase home. It was about to become the city's newest children's hospital. I'd already signed the paperwork donating the property and pledging an additional $3 million for the construction. The public announcement was scheduled for next week, complete with a press conference and local media coverage. My phone buzzed again. A text from Charlotte. "We need to talk about this right now. Mom is in tears. How could you embarrass us like this?" I smiled, thinking about the hospital plans, about karma, about the look on their faces when they realized exactly what their dream home would become. "Sorry," I texted back. "I have an investment to focus on, one that actually matters." Part 2. The next morning, I woke to 37 missed calls and over 50 text messages. My family had apparently been up all night discussing my betrayal in their group chat, which I'd muted years ago. I ignored them all, made my coffee, and got ready for what I knew would be an interesting day. The certified letters would be arriving at their homes and offices this morning. I timed everything carefully: the loan recalls, the hospital announcement, the press coverage. Years of being treated as the family disappointment had taught me the value of strategic planning. My phone rang again as I was feeding Oscar. "Charlotte again." This time I answered. "What do you need $4 million? She screamed without preamble. "Have you lost your mind?" "Good morning to you too," I replied calmly. "I see you got your letter." "This is ridiculous. You can't just demand repayment like this. We had an understanding." "No, you had an assumption. I have contracts, signed by each of you, specifying repayment terms that you've all ignored. My lawyers say they're quite enforceable." There was a moment of shocked silence, then, "Lawyers? You're bringing lawyers into a family matter." Family matters stopped being relevant when you all treated me like a convenient ATM while mocking my career choices. "That's not," she started, but I cut her off. "Tell me, Charlotte, how many times in the past 5 years have you referred to my work as my little computer hobby? How often have you implied that I'm not a real professional like the rest of you? Yet whose money funded your husband's failed restaurant, your spa trips, your luxury car?" "We're your family," she said, her voice smaller now. "We're supposed to help each other." "No, I'm supposed to help everyone else while being treated like an embarrassment." "Well, guess what? This embarrassment just bought your dream house." Another shocked silence. "What?" "The Madison estate. I bought it last week, but don't worry, you'll love what I'm doing with it." I ended the call before she could respond, just as my assistant texted to remind me about the press conference. Perfect timing. The local news crews were already setting up when I arrived at the Madison estate. I'd chosen to hold the announcement on the front lawn, with the magnificent Victorian mansion as a backdrop. The hospital architects had brought renderings of how the property would be transformed. The mansion renovated into administrative offices and family accommodation, new medical wings extending gracefully from either side, the grounds turned into healing gardens. I was reviewing my speech when I heard the commotion at the security checkpoint. My entire family had arrived, led by my father in full courtroom battle mode. "That's my daughter," he was telling the security guard. We need to speak with her immediately. I nodded to let them through. Let them see this. Let them understand exactly what their greed had cost them. Rebecca, my father began as they approached, this has gone far enough. You're obviously having some kind of breakdown. Ladies and gentlemen, the hospital CEO's voice boomed through the PA system, cutting him off. Thank you all for coming. We're here today to announce an extraordinary gift to our community. My family stood frozen as the announcement unfolded. The CEO detailed the plans for the new children's hospital, praised my generous donation of both the property and additional funding, invited other community leaders to contribute to this worthy cause. Charlotte's face had gone pale as she stared at the architectural renderings. You're turning it into a hospital? But our plans. Yes, I said quietly. Your plans for another showcase mansion versus my plans for a facility that will help thousands of sick children. I wonder which one history will remember. You can't do this, my mother whispered. What will people think? They'll think your daughter did something meaningful with her money instead of bankrolling her family's extravagance. Reporters were approaching now, cameras rolling. My father tried to step in front of me, but I moved smoothly around him to the podium. As a successful technology entrepreneur, I began, looking directly into the cameras. I've been blessed with the means to make a difference. This children's hospital isn't just about providing medical care. It's about creating hope, supporting families during their darkest hours, and building a legacy that truly matters. The press conference went perfectly. Local media ate up the story of a homegrown tech success giving back to her community. The hospital board presented preliminary plans that had the reporters scribbling enthusiastically in their notebooks. Through it all, my family stood to the side, their expressions a mix of shock, anger, and finally, dawning comprehension. When the cameras stopped rolling, Charlotte approached me first. What about our loans? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. They're due in 30 days, as the letter states. I suggest you all start liquidating assets. But that's impossible. Jeremy protested. None of us have that kind of money lying around. Really? What about all those investments the loans were supposedly for? The business ventures? The property deals? They exchanged guilty looks. We all knew those investments had never existed. The money had gone to maintain their lavish lifestyles while they lived beyond their means. I'll give you an alternative, I said, watching their faces light up with hope. The hospital board is creating a scholarship program for medical students who commit to working here after graduation. Pledge your repayments to that fund instead, and I'll waive the interest. A scholarship program? My mother scoffed. That's hardly the same as. As what? I cut in. As another mansion. Another failed business. This way, your debt actually helps people instead of enabling more waste. My father studied me with new eyes. You've thought this through. I had plenty of time. Years of watching you all take advantage while treating me like a disappointment tends to inspire careful planning. One by one, they agreed to the scholarship arrangement, not out of generosity. We all knew that. But because it was their only viable option. My lawyers had made sure the loan documents were ironclad, and none of them could afford the repayments otherwise. The local paper ran a glowing story about the hospital project the next day. Donations started pouring in from other community members inspired by the example. My family's social circle buzzed with talk about their generous daughter/sister who was revolutionizing pediatric care in the city. Charlotte called a week later, her voice lacking its usual imperial tone. The contractors you recommended for the hospital, she said hesitantly. Do they ever need software systems? Greg's restaurant equipment is being auctioned next week, and we need to find new revenue streams. I smiled, remembering all the times she dismissed my tech career. Send me your proposal. If it's good, I'll pass it along. Thank you, she said quietly. And Rebecca, I'm sorry, we all are. We just got so used to treating me like an ATM while pretending I was a failure. Yes, she swallowed audibly. Seeing you up there, announcing the hospital. You're not who we thought you were. No, I agreed. I'm who I always was. You just never bothered to notice. The hospital project broke ground 3 months later. My family attended the ceremony, not in the front row as they would have once assumed, but mixed in with the other community supporters. I saw them wince when the hospital board chairman praised my business acumen and technical innovations that had made my success possible. The scholarship program, funded by their repayments, would support 5 medical students in its first year. The press loved that detail, 3 generations of future doctors enabled by one family's generosity. They didn't need to know it was generosity enforced by legal documents and karmic justice. A year later, I stood in what had once been the Madison Estate's grand ballroom, now transformed into a state-of-the-art pediatric treatment center. Children's artwork decorated the walls that Charlotte had planned to adorn with expensive wallpaper. The grounds where Greg had envisioned his pudding green now held healing gardens where young patients could feel the sun on their faces. My phone buzzed. A text from Charlotte. Her software company, started with the restaurant auction money and my contractor introductions, had just landed its first major client. "Thank you," she wrote, "for everything, even the hard lessons. I thought about karma, about legacies, about the difference between having money and doing something meaningful with it, about family ties that had to break before they could be rebuilt into something healthier." "You're welcome," I texted back. "Some investments pay off in ways we never expect." Standing there in the hospital that had once been someone's dream mansion, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting those who hurt you. Sometimes it's about building something so undeniably good that they're forced to recognize their own pettiness in its shadow.